So let's dive into a truly radical idea. What if I told you that you're asleep right now, and that your feeling of being awake, of being conscious and in control of your life, well, what if that's almost entirely an illusion?
And this quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of the whole puzzle, doesn't it? Think about it. If your goal is to awaken, but everything you do to try and get there is also done in your sleep, how on earth could you ever possibly wake up? That's the big question we're going to tackle. So our guide for this whole exploration is this guy, P.D. Ouspensky. He was a philosopher, a journalist, a real seeker, you know? It's 1914, just before the world erupts into war, and he's just gotten back from places like India and Ceylon, absolutely convinced that ordinary life was a total mess of contradictions. He just knew there had to be some kind of hidden knowledge out there to make sense of it all. And you gotta understand, Ouspensky wasn't after some dusty old religious text or a new scientific formula. He was looking for something real, something practical, a kind of living knowledge that could completely transform a person's understanding, their very being. He called it his search for the miraculous. And then, wouldn't you know it, he finds what he's looking for, not in some remote monastery in the Himalayas, but right in the middle of the chaos of wartime Moscow. He gets introduced to this small group studying with a super enigmatic Greco-Armenian teacher, a man known in his writings simply as G. And what this G had to say, well, it turned everything upside down. So the very first thing Gurdjieff hits his students with is this absolutely shocking diagnosis of the human condition. And believe me, it was not designed to make them feel good about themselves. It was meant to be a wake-up call. I mean, really, let that sink in for a second. He's not saying some of what you do is automatic. He's saying everything. The words you're hearing right now, the temperature in the room, a random memory that just popped into your head, it's all just pushing buttons on a machine, and the machine just reacts. There's no real you in there making a choice. And here is the absolute core of it. We don't have a single unified self. We think we do, right? We think there's one permanent I sitting in the driver's seat of our life. But according to Gurdjieff, that belief is the biggest illusion of them all. So instead of one I, picture this. Your inner world is like a crowded room, a total mob. You've got hundreds of tiny, contradictory I's, all shouting and fighting for the microphone. There's the I that wants to get up early and go to the gym. Then there's the I that hits the snooze button 5 times. There's the I that promises to be patient, and then there's the I that loses its mind in traffic 5 minutes later. Each one grabs control, says I, and then vanishes, usually with no memory of the one that came before it. Okay, so if we're not this single unified person, then what in the world are we? To explain this inner chaos, Gurdjieff used this absolutely brilliant analogy. And this is it, the carriage analogy. It just lays it all out so perfectly. Think of your physical body as the carriage itself. It's just kind of there, rolling along. Your emotions and desires, that's the horse. And it's just pulling in any random direction it feels like. Your mind, your intellect, that's the driver. He thinks he's in charge, but really, he's half asleep, just holding the reins loosely. And the most important part? The master, the real I, who should be inside telling the driver where to go. He's not even there. He's completely absent. So who's in charge? The answer is nobody. Now, you might think this is all just psychology, right? But in Gurdjieff's system, this idea of being a machine goes way deeper. It's actually tied to our exact place in the cosmos. See, the reason we're so mechanical isn't some random accident of evolution. It's a direct function of where we are in the grand scheme of things. We aren't separate from the universe. We're a part of its machinery, for better or for worse. And this diagram here, this is the map. It's called the ray of creation. It basically shows the universe as this cascading scale, starting from the very top with the absolute, you could call it God, and flowing down through the galaxies, our sun, the planets, all the way down to Earth, and finally to the moon. It's a cosmic hierarchy. And here's the crucial part to understand. At the very top, the absolute is only governed by one law, its own will. But every step you take down that ladder, more laws get added to the mix. So the further you are from the source, the more mechanical laws you're tangled up in, and the less real freedom you have. So, how many laws govern us? All of organic life on Earth, including humanity. The number is 48. We live under 48 different sets of mechanical laws. That puts us way, way down the chain of command, a long way from the pure will of the absolute. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds Incredibly depressing, right? We're a machine, we're asleep, we're governed by 48 laws. But here's the thing. That's not the end of the story. The whole point of this teaching is that there's a way out. There's a possibility for something more. Gurdjieff's big message was this. Yes, you are born a machine, but you do not have to die a machine. A totally different kind of evolution is possible. Not the slow, mechanical kind we're used to, but a conscious evolution. But, and this is a big but, it requires a very specific kind of knowledge and a very specific kind of effort. So, throughout history, people have tried to do this, and there have really been three traditional paths. You have the way of the fakir, who tries to conquer the body through intense physical challenges. Then there's the way of the monk, who masters emotion through prayer and faith. And finally, the way of the yogi, who masters the mind through pure knowledge. But here's the catch with those three ways. They're all or nothing. You have to go away to a monastery, or a cave, or an ashram. You have to leave the world behind. And each one only focuses on one part of you. The body, the emotions, or the mind. Gurdjieff taught what he called a fourth way. He called it the sly or cunning path because it's for people living right here in the middle of ordinary life. The idea is to work on your body, your emotions, and your mind all at the same time, using the messy stuff of your everyday life as the raw material. Okay, so what does this work actually look like? If you're on this fourth way, how do you even begin the process of waking up? It all starts with one single practice, self-observation. And the key here is that you're not trying to fix anything. You're not judging yourself, you're just watching. You're observing the machine as if you were a scientist observing some strange creature. You just notice the absolute chaos of your thoughts. You notice how your moods can shift in an instant. You notice the tension in your shoulders. This simple, impartial act of watching, that is the very first spark of real consciousness. And that very effort, the struggle to just observe without getting swept away, that's what starts to build the one thing you're missing. It's how you slowly, piece by piece, create a real permanent I. It's how you finally put a master in the carriage, someone who can actually tell the driver where to go, who can handle the horse, and who can finally decide your destination. But, and this is maybe the most important part of all, none of this is possible without taking that first really difficult step. As Gurdjieff said, you must first realize that you are in prison. Because if you think you're already free, why would you ever try to escape? The whole teaching hinges on this one honest admission. And that really leaves us with the final lingering question. It's one thing to escape a prison with bars you can see and walls you can touch. But what do you do? What if you are in a prison you can't even see? What if the prison is your own mind, your own personality, a cage you've mistaken for yourself your entire life?